Hey guys, this is Steelers5101 here. I'm showing you guys my first ever multiplayer battle on Napoleon Total War. I am the blue on the mini-map, and I command the army of Prussia, while my opponent, Nicholas, commands the army of France, and we dueled each other on the map of the grassy flatlands. So we'll look at my army. My general was General Gerhard von Scharnhorst. I had one regiment of the Brandenburg Uhlans, which is a unique regiment, so you can only get one of them. One unit of Cuirassiers, 4 units of Silesian Schutzen, 2 units of 6-pounder horse artillery teams, 2 units of 7-pounder howitzer artillery teams. I had the 1st East Prussian Grenadier Battalion, which is another unique unit, 5 regiments of musketeers, and 1 regiment of Lützow's Freikorps, which is another unique regiment. So in Napoleon Total War, you basically win by causing all enemy units to rout, which is caused by usually inflicting casualties on them. So when they break, their flags will start constantly flashing white, and they'll try to get to one of the red lines on either side of the map, and once they basically touch the lines, they are out of the battle. But since they're broken, they can regain their composure and come back into the fight. However, if their flags are disappeared, that means that they've been shattered and there's no chance of them regaining their composure, so they will keep routing until they're off the map. So in this battle, it was my first one, so I was a major camper. So if you guys don't like campers, well, too bad, because that's what I was in this battle, a camper. So when my formation for the upcoming battle is done, I'll bring this back after the pause. So this was my formation for the battle, and let's go look at my opponent's army. So this was his formation for the battle. He had around 2 regiments of the Old Guard, which are an elite unit, but they're not unique. 3 regiments of chasseurs, which are skirmishers, 3 units of the National Guard, which is militia, 4 regiments of fusiliers of the line, 2 regiments of 6-inch howitzer artillery teams, 1 general staff, so he didn't get any unique general or whatever, which is sometimes a bad idea because your men rout easier. And he had 4 regiments of chasseurs à cheval. And on the mini-map, I'm the blue units while he's the red. So he ended up advancing on me because, as I said earlier, I was a major camper in this battle. So around there, my artillery got its first kill. Well, I got my first kills ever in a multiplayer battle on this regiment of the Fusiliers of the Line and Chasseurs. So until the artillery starts firing, I'm going to cut out that part of him advancing. So my artillery started firing, but they didn't kill anyone over there. But about right here, my other regiment of horse artillery would get kills right there. So those were the first kills I ever got in a multiplayer battle. So at the same time, he's bringing his cavalry down around my flank, and they are actually out of range of my artillery, which was about right there. However, you can tell them the target at the edge of it, and so they overshot as I expected and took out several of his cavalry. And so, like when I'm playing, usually I have something of like go for artillery first, then cavalry, and then infantry with my artillery. So yeah, my artillery was causing major havoc with his cavalry, and at the meantime, the rest of my artillery was doing quite a lot of damage to the enemy infantry. And like howitzers are really good against infantry, especially when they explode upon hitting the ground, because they usually send people flying. So yeah, he halted his units here and started to unlimber his artillery. And these little colored bars above the flags are their morale, so when they're red, they're very close to starting to rout. Again, he moved his cavalry. He started not charging, but running them over there. And I would turn my Silesian Schutzen to face them. So yeah, his general's unit has already lost around 9 people from major overshots by my artillery, and like this is sort of what their general would technically see in real life, and that's all you see is just tons of explosions around his men, so that would be a bit disheartening. And then my artillery killed his general right there with an overshot, so there he is right there, and the general's staff routed, but they were not broken. But as I said before, since cavalry runs so fast, they routed off the map. And here he started charging his men, and the chasseurs at cheval usually can fire a volley before contacting. So I charged my cavalry over here and had my Schutzen put up spikes. And then right there they started to fire. Same with these guys, and you can just see a whole bunch of dead people already in the center of his line. And so these chasseurs are almost already yeah, they've already broken. And then here I had to use my general and move my Uhlans over here because his cavalry was getting a bit of the better of the fight. And over here, my 2 regiments of my cavalry, the Freikorps and Cuirassiers, were in a battle right here with one of his chasseurs at cheval. And over here I had my Schutzen fire into here because my cavalry was on the other side, so there wasn't much chance of friendly fire. And at the meantime, almost his entire infantry wave has already been beaten off by my Duggan troops. However, I have lost 2 of these cannons, and his 2 old guard and chasseurs marching down there on what was presumably supposed to be a roll up my flank with his strongest units. So at the same time, he only has 1 regiment of cavalry left, which is in a fight with my Uhlans. And I charged my Freikorps into the rear, which caused them to rout very shortly. And so then my Schutzen routed from combined fire of the Old Guard, chasseurs, and 1 regiment of the National Guard. But yeah, right here they routed, but my Schutzen caused my Freikorps to shatter. And at this point, most of his infantry came back from routing, except for around 3 units that got shattered. So 2 chasseurs and 1 National Guard. And since I was so occupied with the cavalry, took me a while to remember to get canister for my men, and right there they fired it, but I only killed about one man with it. And so my musketeers were taking a beating from the chasseurs and the old guard, and they weren't really causing much damage at the same time. So then they routed, and I never noticed my Schutzen came back from routing till a lot later in the battle. And then my artillery routed, and they had 3 guys left. So right here I got my Schutzen to buy time, and I pretty much ended up abandoning these howitzers to stop. Yeah, so I put my East Prussian Grenadier Battalion here to protect them, still trying to save them and to meet this attack. So you can see that my guys got pretty beat up there, and then these guys have already lost a lot. So then right here I was trying to get my grenadiers to get their grenades because they weren't going to do much with their musketeers, and then they stopped there to throw their grenades, and then subsequently just shattered. So then my howitzers morale was pretty low, but these Schutzen were holding up pretty good. And then right here my musketeers had also came back from routing. But yeah, right here is where I abandoned my howitzers, but they had already shattered. So then I retreated these guys since they were low in morale, and moved my entire army, moved most of my army, so I could take on his 2nd Infantry Assault along with his flanking maneuver. So right there, my canister shot shattered that regiment of Fusiliers of the line, and 2 other regiments of them routed, leaving 1 regiment of Fusiliers of the line, because really, National Guard aren't much of a challenge for anyone but other militia units. But right here, since I got my army turned around, I now had a superiority in firepower, and I would move my Brandenburg Uhlans there. So there goes his chasseurs who routed, and it was basically his old. And right here I charged my cuirassier to remove his artillery from assaulting my infantry. And right there they took a beating, but also threw on their own men way out here. And then they shattered, so then I charged them at his last remaining unit of artillery. So yeah, now my Uhlans were in a good position to charge into the flanks of his infantry, and then they shattered my Silesian Schutzen regiment, which held them off for a little. Wait, no, that was this one. Never mind. So his chasseurs came back from routing there, and his National Guard came back from there. So I charged my cavalry into here, and sometimes it's a good idea to keep your men assaulting a regiment until they shatter and then charge them. So I caused these guys to rout, and these guys formed into a square at the same time as these guys routed from fire. Then these guys routed, and I used my cavalry to chase down his remaining units that weren't shattered, to basically effectively shatter them and get them out of the battle. And I moved 1 regiment of musketeers to take on these Fusiliers, who took a few casualties from my artillery. So right here I was chasing down the National Guard and Fusiliers of the line, and since Fusiliers are better, I took them out first, and then they shattered all in almost immediate contact. And meantime, I used my cavalry to charge into these regiments that had just kind of come back from routing. And then since these guys had experience, I took them out, and that was the end of the battle. I deployed 1,540 men and lost 813, while killing 1,189 of his men. He deployed 2,112 men and lost 1,254 of his men, while killing 761 of my men. So I had around 50 friendly fires, while he had around 60 friendly fires. So that was my first ever battle in Napoleon Total War, and I won a pretty decent victory. Stay tuned for more battles and videos from other games.